There's something being forged out of you to do away with your childish things and start becoming a man. Embrace these 5 things, especially the one is they have just the ability to endure. No matter what the circumstances, feelings, or words of others, they continue to move forward. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. What does that look like for me? That is for the decision of you, Bo, the listener. What does that look like for me in my life? To me, that's going to take relationship. That's going to take discernment. But at the end of the day, you still need to endure no matter what.
Yeah.
Hey guys, Cartwright here. Thanks for listening, watching wherever you are. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe wherever you listen or watch. Anyway, thanks for being here.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Men Are Forged, the podcast that talks directly to men in their 20s and 30s that are trying to do this Christian journey together and navigate what it is to be a Christian in today's world and navigate all the truths and all the lies that we get, all that fun stuff. We have been doing the Men Are Forged curriculum, the thing that Cartwright came up with, ton of incredible content. And we've been working through the 5 pillars of the word forge, which I'm hoping to spell right this week, Forge.
Man, did it all by yourself. Man, round of applause.
That took me a while.
Man.
And today we're on E. And if you want to go back and listen to some of the others,
We're not on empty.
Yeah, we're not on empty. You may be. You've been teaching a lot this
I feel
morning.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, Cartwright's doing a bunch of classes this morning, so we'll give him a little grace today. But no, today we're doing E, and that stands for enduring man. And so basically the first thing we have here is God calls us not only to start well, but to finish well through perseverance. Key verses are Romans 5, 1 through 5, Hebrew 12, 1 through 3, James 1, 2 through 4. And the core question is, for an enduring man, will I keep going when it gets hard, or will I quit and settle or avoid my responsibility?
Yeah.
Get us going on that.
Man, it's just a theme throughout the Bible. Yeah, I guess when I was like 27, 26, when I was, I've kind of recommitted my life to the Lord and kind of set my journey into ministry and all sorts of stuff. And these verses kept coming up. The ones about hope and the ones about endurance, and they're usually connected. There was something, and I think there is like people want to call it a generational thing. I think there is a throughout human history kind of thing sometimes, is certain things. How do we learn to manage our own emotions in difficult times, keep going forward, and not hitting the escape or fight or flight button, basically, or freeze, is some psychologists are saying. It's just it's a thing, and I think a lot of it is, if I want to use some cultural terms here, is many of us grew up with either helicopter parents. If there's anything hard, our parents just jumped in and did it for us, even pushed us out of the way, right? So, or I think this is more new than people are calling it snowplow parenting. It's no longer helicopter parenting. It's snowplow parenting, where literally you just push all the hardships out of the way. So they have no idea that, oh, maybe I got to push past a little of this. Maybe I got to go through some struggle to get to it. And you're just like, oh, wow. So this theme, one, we're seeing, I want to say from a cultural standpoint, but also a biblical standpoint. Like this is, Romans 5 is the obvious one, because Paul lays out just almost like a math equation. Where he lays it out simply. Endurance produces character. We all want to be men of character. Well, you got to endure. Character produces hope, so it's another connection to hope, and hope does not disappoint. It's like, oh, here's the thing about hope. It connects us to the thing that keeps us going forward, that allows us to endure, right? So, anyway, that's kind of my when I think about this is like, and it's kind of the last, but kind of best for last in a sense, not the best, but I really am like when we're trying to embrace our identity, going back to even the discussion talked about identity automaticity with the the Navy SEALs. Like, I am the guy who endures. I am the guy who doesn't quit. Like, that's just who I am. Learning to embrace that identity in the midst of chaos in life, because it's hard. And I could speak from personal experience. Just the pressures of life can either bring out the best in us or the worst in us.
Yeah.
And I've just seen more and more countless situations with men when things got harder, they got worse.
Mm-hmm.
And the repercussions are immense. I mean, when there's kids involved, when there's family involved, when there's people's livelihoods involved, it's just, we need more men that have the ability just to go, all right, Fitz just hit the shan.
This sucks.
But I'm here we go.
Yeah.
Lean on me. Yeah. And I think that's we're just so spoiled in this culture because I think we do have it so easy. We really do. We really do. I mean, it's wild to think about how people even just use the bathroom for thousands and thousands of years. But in the last 60, we have something called indoor plumbing. And all our technology advances and everything have added value to us, added value to our lives, but also made things just where we think everything should be easier.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
we have a higher expectation of things to really be kind of seamless, right?
Yeah.
Like not have many bumps on the road because we have so many resources to go to instead of facing it ourselves. Right. I'm not like this personally, really, because I think I'm pretty loyal.
Yeah.
But professionally, I can totally relate to this because I have so many times where I can think of like, I don't like how this thing went, or I don't feel appreciated, or I don't feel valued, or hey, this project is really hard. Well, I'll just get out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I have this natural tendency to like start. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of I absolutely feel the pull on that. Yeah. But there's so much value in, well, now hold on, let me be where my feet are and actually try to, perform even better, even when I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
There's kind of a greater sense of accomplishment when you're able to do something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think you learn a lot about yourself. You learn more in that situation. I think in a job scenario, it's like, all right, let me think of, here's the reason why I had to quit a job. One, if the compensation's just terrible, but also there's not a lot of, alignment or collaboration. And then three, probably the third, like if you don't have all three of these things, then yeah, you should probably quit your job. But if you got one, especially in your 20s, then you should probably stick it out. And three is the learning piece, the educate. Am I learning about myself, about business, about how to...
Am I being stretched?
Yeah. Figuring stuff out, how to problem solve, all the things. That's what happens when we have that learn to hit that endurance button. We just really find out more about ourselves. We learn about just more just general life skills when we have the ability to do that. I mean, even the concept of just cooking, eating food, right? It's like, well, let me go.
DoorDash.
Yeah, DoorDash. Now we got DoorDash. We don't have to get in the car to go sit in the drive-thru.
It's so nice.
It is.
So nice.
It is. Oh man, but there's something too of like, hey,
and there's no friction with spending the money either. You just tap the money. You don't even see the cash leave.
Right?
Oh, yeah. So nice.
You know what? Oh, I get a free delivery this month. You know what? I can't lose money on this.
Yeah.
But it's a real thing where, for thousands of years, people had to go hunt, spend hours making something and grinding out grains.
It's so funny you bring up DoorDash because every time we DoorDash, I promise I have this thought. I'm like, I would be so embarrassed if my dad found out I was DoorDashing. For real. Because he'd be like, huh? You're going to let somebody bring food to your door? What are you talking about? Go get it.
You have a really good car out there.
I always think about that too early, dude.
And
it's more expensive.
Yeah, which before I had kids, I had that thought. I mean, I still go pick up food, but when you have kids and you're trying to get bath time going and
Well,
this,
you like
I'm
to
like,
cook too.
well, yeah, it's a de-stressor for me. So anyway, but so
this isn't a cooking episode. It can be.
Yeah, okay. There's lessons to be learned in it.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. Key focus and issues on this topic. One of the bullet points is developing grit and perseverance when motivation fades. So it's not even necessarily when something is opposing you or something hard happens. It could be going, you could have a really good setup, but it doesn't always mean the motivation is going to show up every single day.
Yeah.
Right. I had this day yesterday, man. Yesterday, I don't know. I was just in a cloud. I don't know. It was one of those days I was just like, I don't want to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just there's no reason for it. No reason for it.
Yeah.
Perfectly healthy. Nothing wrong.
Uh-huh.
The business is going great.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was just like a Monday where I was just like, I don't want to do any of this. Yeah. But it was good to work the muscle of, well, do it anyway, dude.
Right.
You know what I mean? Do it anyway. Be where your feet are. Love, and then, after an hour or two, you kind of pick your momentum and you get going. But my point is, when motivation fades, feels a little bit different than what we were just talking about, like where stuff is going wrong.
Right.
Right.
And that's where, so I would say I had to learn this the hard way because in my 20s, even early 30s, when I had those bad days, it was then turn into like a woe is me session of, I don't know how to work hard. I'm not, where now you kind of understand yourself. Like, you're just going to have bad days.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Just like accepting that. Like, I'm not going to be 100% of the time. That's just not me. Some people may be that can. That's not me. And going, okay, well, what do I need to get done? What do I make sure that I check off?
Yeah.
Where some people, it's like, if I feel this way, peace, sick day, playing solitaire on my phone, which I don't even know people still do that. But, you mean not an 80-year-old woman? What you talking about?
Playing bridge with your friends.
Right. Oh, man. What's maybe or on DraftKings on my phone all day? Maybe that's maybe a better one. But anyway, so there's a level of like, okay, let me learn in the midst. How do I endure? All right, let me move from, let me stop thinking I'm, Elon Musk doing everything all the time to, all right, what do I need to get done today? Make sure I check that off. Going back to like the faithful son, the mark of success in our life as believers. All right, am I faithful with what I'm doing today?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
So, well, it's funny you say that about the, I've felt that recently, like almost allowing yourself permission to just chalk up some days. It's just a bad day and it's all right. Go to sleep, wake up the next day. I feel like in my 20s, I really struggled with that.
Yeah.
Cause you're under this belief that like, oh man, if it's not great every day, then I must not be living out my passion. You know what I mean? You kind of deal with that, like, man, I wanted to be Nick Saban. You know what I mean? And if that wasn't going right, then like, something was off. But now I totally see what you're saying. Yeah. I feel like in my early 30s now, I'm like, that's just a bad day.
You've had enough of those where that's what it is.
Let's just chalk it up. It's just a bad day.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I'm glad you said that. Next bullet point is viewing trials as character building rather than reasons to quit. And I will, on this point, I love it because when you're in a tough season, tough day, tough week, if you can change your mindset from, gosh, how the heck do I get out of this to, hey, man, this is how I really am going to refine and stretch myself and see the value in those two things, then those days, that you're inevitably going to have really aren't that bad by the end of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's when you put more in your situation where you look at a trial and you don't ruminate into allow it to defeat you, but you actually see it as like, oh, it's an opportunity. Yeah. Then the harder the situation, the more you're ready for it. Mm-hmm. People want to be that person who's dependable, trustworthy, thrives, wants to be the the Michael Jordan, give me the ball at the last second, at the end of the game, kind of, can't just drop yourself into that moment. You have to kind of build to it. And that's by looking at situations and trials and going, oh man. And you feel that you're like, that cortisol level goes up and you're like fight or flight. And then you go, oh, if you could just somehow have that narrative, almost like kind of the way we talk about when we talk about preaching the gospel to yourself, preaching that to yourself, like, oh, this is a growth opportunity. This is for me to learn. All eyes are
take some reps too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it starts with self-talk. It's like, man, all eyes are on me now. I got to own this. A lot of times it comes from, you did something wrong and you failed, and immediately you want to just throw off blame somewhere else. Yeah. But that's the opportunity to go fully own it, and I'm going to fix it.
Yeah.
That's, I think, in their 20s, I think that's probably the best scenario I could think of for somebody in their 20s who wants to learn how to view trials as opportunities, is to take a moment where you failed and own it. Yeah. And then say out loud, I will find a way to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd probably say that's probably the number one way to gain respect from your peers too.
Yeah.
Is in situations like that. It's not when you kill a sales pitch and everything's great. It's when, sales pitch does not go well.
Yeah.
And then you could come in the next day and say, hey, this is what I learned from that. This is how I get better. I don't know how anybody would be like, not good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know, especially in your 20s and 30s. It's like, we get it. You're going to fall down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's almost like,
just be honest about it when you do.
I had a leader who would say, when, I had to learn this the hard way, but it was like, you come to us like, man, I did this, and he's like, well, good.
Mm-hmm.
That means you're learning.
Yeah.
That mindset, getting around those type of leaders is huge. But I would say most of us, I would say we're still operating like we're 10, 11 years old, being called out and being like, no, I didn't, and it's, unfortunately, there's too many adults walking around doing that.
And that never saves you, right?
No.
Like, I've never seen it I don't know. It just feels like this a really great way to just dig yourself deeper in a hole and lose all respect you may have had.
Right.
And I keep thinking of this through a perspective of like a job. I guess that's a good example. Yeah. But like, I don't know. Like, you've been around the people at work that like won't own up to something, or, and it's like, dude, I just don't want to be around you.
Right.
But the people that are like, I messed up.
They gain, more trust.
Yeah.
Have more value.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to find a solution.
Yeah. One of my closest friends now is somebody I work with every day. And this happened last week. Yeah. So like he was, he kind of shifted his focus from like what his core focus was when he was hired to doing something else.
Yeah.
And he sort of got called on it because there was a mistake. Long story. But dude, he was like, yeah. Okay. I got it. Yeah. No, that's totally true. I did it.
Yeah.
I understand. I did shift my focus. And it wasn't like anything. He was like working hard in an area where, he wasn't intended to work. Mm-hmm. So it's not like he was doing anything wrong. He was adding value just in the wrong direction.
Right.
And, he came in the next day and was like, I totally see that. This is what I'm going to do to fix it, put a plan together. And I'm like, dude, I will go to the ends of earth for you.
Oh, 100%. Like,
I'll do anything for you.
Yeah. But I imagine a lot of us who did that. I mean, I probably did that at some point in my life, doing the opposite. We probably saw adults doing it, not owning it, trying to slide away from responsibility. And maybe that's how we thought, oh, this is how people operate. Maybe we subconsciously stored it away, if I'm being a psychoanalyst here on it. But there needs to be more examples of like that, of one, Bo, you saying that guy's trustworthy, but also goes, I need to bring my EA down if he's operating that way.
Yeah, that's right.
And so
it kind of sets the culture a little
bit.
Because you see the positive effect of him taking ownership, and then it's like, oh, okay, I can take ownership and what I mess up.
Yeah.
Which never happens. It was every day. You know what I mean? But for real. That's kind of cool. I respected him a lot before, but after that, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll do.
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. You're my teammate. That's cool. Well, the next bullet point is building long-term faithfulness over short-term comfort. I feel like we kind of covered that. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, it would feel really good to just bail
Yeah.
right now,
Right.
but you probably will look up in a month and you'll be like, I wish I hadn't done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
whether it's a job, relationship, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting in just, well, I would say they both kind of cross over in relationship and job of, and this is maybe going back to the reflective leader and, or being in more ground. I mean, all of them, they kind of overlap, but like the idea of knowing yourself and having some level of discernment in the moment of going, am I bailing out of fear, and kind of addressing, going back, we've talked about this, what's motivating me in leaving? Is it because it's hard? Your ability to evaluate yourself in that moment. It's like, I've had moments of that with relationship with my wife, right? Many times.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh gosh, I'm starting to feel that. Ooh, where's the eject button? And you're like, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, this is a moment to lean in.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, our relationship has grown because we've leaned in versus putting up a wall or
Yeah.
looking for the exit or,
Oh, yeah.
and so learning how to embrace those moments, whether it's in relationship or work. But I think also, like, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't get out of an unhealthy relationship or leave a job that's not doing, like I said earlier, those three things. So yeah, it's learning to, discern those in the moment, but also like in your 20s, it's building that muscle of endurance. So
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. It's the same. I mean, there's always, and this is, I don't want to get us off track, but it's kind of the thesis of this podcast is learning how to strike the balance between these two things.
yeah,
It's like, um, do I act right now or do I be still?
yeah,
Right? And the answer's yes.
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what is, like, and is the answer right now to leave this job or to leave this relationship, or is it to endure?
yeah,
You know, the answer is yes. You know what I mean? It's kind of, that's the challenge of, being a Christian, or really you don't have to be a Christian, but like, but we back all our decisions as Christians, or we should, like, how, what does the word say? What does God say? What is, where is he teaching me to do here? And it's
yeah,
always striking the balance. That's what I've kind of found with you too.
yeah.
Like, in all my time with you, it's like, there's always tension between 2 points. I know I'm getting us off track.
No, it's good.
Always tension between 2 points, and this could be one of them. Do I endure or do I make a change?
Yeah.
So what are some of the symptoms, like, in any of these, like a situation like that? Do I endure or do I make a change? What are some of the symptoms you see? I guess you said, what's it driven by? Is that what you're saying? Like
Yeah.
fear or?
Like, I mean, going back to that previous bullet point of comfort, am I doing this solely because I feel uncomfortable? That's probably not the best. But, I think, some languages, someone advised me is like following your peace, going back to that's John 16, I don't give peace as the world gives. Peace I give to you, right? That learn, like, how am I, where is, that's the convoluted question. It's like there's a difference between peace and comfort,
Well, I was about to say,
you know?
I would have said, well, I'll feel a lot peaceful.
And I think,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, that's where, so I would say is, this is going back to these are continual conversations for guys in our 20s. It's figuring out who you are, what are you about, what are your core values, what's your purpose in life. These things help shape these decisions. So that's why discovering that and really thinking on them and evaluating, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to matter, those internal drivers, more than comfort feelings, right? Because you will then just go whichever way the wind blows.
Yeah.
So when I say follow in your peace, I'm like, all right, is this consistent with who I am, who God's called me to be? Is it, I have done everything I can in this situation? I mean, I'll speak from personal experience, in a job where you feel disrespected, you're not growing, you're not being compensated. you feel like there's a lack of alignment, do you then go, okay, is it worth it to sit here and endure, and where you've seen the carrot being dangled for over and over again, but there is no carrot?
Mhm.
And then you just go, all right, son, move on. That's where, and you go, okay, what is best for me? What's best for my family? What's best for my growth, my skill set?
What do you mean by the carrot that's being dangled? That's not really a carrot.
Well, I mean, I think in some employers or even in relationships, people do this where it's like, all right, this is hard here. You have, like, and when I say doing everything, like having difficult conversations, um, working hard at what you've been given, putting forth the effort to improve the situation, but it's just not improving. And then the person, and then whether it's a boss or significant others, just always, well, if you keep doing that, you'll get this.
Equity or something like that.
Yeah. Equity, a raise, bonuses,
Yeah.
I think then we'll get married is some way to look at it in a relationship context, or then we'll move into a bigger house or whatever.
Yeah.
You can kind of put I mean, these people that are listening, you know the X that somebody has probably put in front of you. And it's just like, that can't be the driver of your daily life. There's just so much your day, especially, work and relationship. This is the majority of your life. People that you put in relationship with and people you work, the work where you work with. It's like, it just can't be the majority of your life. So learning to evaluate that and go, okay, do I trust this person? I'm willing to endure.
Yeah.
Do I not trust this person? No, I need to move on.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best way to look at it, is it,
Yeah.
the trust factor.
Yeah.
So,
and then like we always say too, take your lumps too,
yeah.
Learn, I mean, learn from, I mean, I've had situations before that you and I have met extensively about, where you trust somebody and I think they probably are a trustworthy person. Like, I don't think that, like,
Yeah.
a lot of times, like in business, you can trust the person, the man, whoever, but when you get in the middle of business and business deals and all these things, then it's not like you can't trust a man. You just can't trust that situation that they're put in. Does that make sense? Like, so you kind of have to view it two ways. You can still trust the man who's making you this promise, but if you're getting advice from people, like I've tried to do, advice from people that are way smarter than me, that have way more experience than me, and they've given me advice in situations like that where, like, hey man, I'm telling you, that's probably not going to happen. Not because the guy isn't telling you what he believes to be true, but because, this business probably doesn't allow for bonuses or allow for you to have equity or whatever, and he just doesn't know that yet. So,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
There's almost like you're discerning. It's like not even just saying, oh, I don't trust this person's character. That's not necessarily it.
Right.
It's even their skill set or abilities.
Yeah.
It's like they may be a good person of character, but their abilities cause them, there's a cap on what they can.
Yeah.
can do.
I mean, they could they could 100% believe what they're telling you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there may just not be a pathway to that point that they just don't see yet or whatever. Anyway, it's complicated, right? And when you,
but to answer your point, Bo, is at the end of the day, it's like, it's not always, especially in a work context, is thinking about trusting somebody in their character. There's always the other side of it. Can you trust their abilities to do what they say they're going to do?
Yeah, that's right.
That's almost two separate things. They both can be.
Yeah. And if you're in your 20s,
and do they have a self-awareness of know the difference?
Actually, I want to hit on this because this caught my eye. The last bullet point you have is cultivating a legacy mindset. I don't know if this is really what you mean, but I took it as this, and it's something that I've been it's been in my brain lately. I keep talking about parenting because that's kind of theme through this show, because you and I are figuring that out in real time, right? I've got a 1-year-old. You have a 2.5 and a 3-month-old. Yeah. So, we're figuring it out as we go. We're in the trenches. Anyway, I have had the thought, like, when you're dealing with, financial trouble, or if you're dealing with, you're having a conflict with your wife or something like that. Like if Carly and I are having conflict or we're having pressure from outside stuff, I have had the thought where I'm like, okay, I see the value even more now
Mm-hmm.
in enduring through this and being steady and consistent, just the way my dad was
Uh-huh.
with, coming out the other side and coming out better so that he sees how I
Yeah.
react in stressful, pressured stuff like that times, right? Because
Right.
for me, my dad was steady Eddie. I mean, he was,
Mm-hmm.
he was dealing with all the things everybody probably deals with when you're in your 30s, 20s and 30s. But I never knew it. He
Yeah.
was the same guy,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's what I want to be. That's kind of what I think when I see legacy. But is that what you mean by that a little bit? A little bit different, maybe?
Legacy mindset. When I think of legacy mindset, it is just a more long-term thinking of who I am, who I believe I'm called to be. Like, and that is being established over decades, not just days and months.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the ability to endure.
But
Yeah.
also, so your kids do it too, right? I guess
Yeah,
it's
well,
kind of like,
there's a
is there
modeling of it.
your
Yeah.
physical legacy
Yeah.
in a way?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but I think also it's like are you just building a reputation of being trustworthy, dependable, um, a man who does what he says and says what he does, kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've got two quotes on here, but the one that caught my eye was David Goggins, who we've
Oh
talked about
man,
before.
that was a while back. We did that one. Yeah,
Yeah, that was like episode 2.
that was interesting. Yeah.
We talked about David Goggins in episode 2, if you want to go back and listen to it. The only way to guarantee failure is to quit.
Yeah.
The only way to guarantee failure is to quit. So that's really 100% of the time. That's kind of
yeah.
I just haven't really thought of it that way.
Yeah.
But if you're quitting, then you're admitting failure. Right?
I think this is going. Well, I don't want to get too nuanced or complex, but yeah, there is like we were saying earlier, there is a season to move on, to go to the next thing. It's just what is motivating you in that to I think there's many times, I didn't want to be the guy who quit, guy who gave up, but you really have to evaluate.
Okay, yeah.
And think of it. But I mean, David Goggins, he lives in that hyperbolic, that strong, in his own mind, the way he operates and thinks. But there is something to what he's saying. It's like the guy, and if you continue the quote, right? The guy who endures is the one who becomes unstoppable.
Yeah.
When you have that ability to keep going despite the circumstances, despite your feelings, despite what people say, that's somebody worth following. That's someone worth trusting in. That's someone we all admire and look up to. So I think that's important. Think about. So,
Yeah, for
anyway.
sure. Well, and the other point too, so it's kind of, I mean, to your point, every situation is like, this curriculum that you've made. What I like about it is some of the stuff is concrete. Like some of them are hard truths that are biblically represented in the Old New Testament, right? I mean, some of it is, but some of it is, well, it depends on your situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it depends on, I mean, what's going on? What's the full context? Which is why, shameless plug, you need to talk to somebody about it. I mean, it's not like, well, what do I do? You know what I mean? Because that's where I came to you.
Yeah.
And I still do this to you. It's
give me
like,
the answers.
tell me what to do. I just did that to you before we hit record.
Right, yeah.
I literally just did that to you. Just tell me, dude.
Right.
And
I think sometimes in our 20s, maybe we need a little of that.
So.
Maybe because we're still learning to gain the mind. This is what all these are, is like the mindsets, the identity-based mindsets that actually make us know how to evaluate these situations but continue to move forward. But so I don't know if that answers your question a little bit. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do is thinking like almost like a free man, like not beholden to any yoke of slavery. It's like looking through the yoke of slavery is following the law, the letter of the law. versus being in relationship.
Mm-hmm.
We have to live in that relationship, and therefore it takes wisdom, discernment, takes the ability to endure, but then also to pivot and learn. But I think in the context of enduring is like when we just quit, when we just stop and hit the fight or flight button. That's what I mean. And it's like, well, and we just kind of like, and I think that's what I mean by men are forged, meaning you have some childlike mindsets that need to go away. And so all of these 5 pillars is there's something being forged out of you to do away with your childish things and start becoming a man. The men that we admire, I would say, embrace these 5 things, especially the one is they have just the ability to endure. No matter what the circumstances, feelings, or words of others, they continue to move forward. And I think that's what I'm trying to get at. And so therefore, what does that look like for me? That is for the decision of you, Bo, the listener. What does that look like for me in my life? To me, that's going to take relationship. That's going to take discernment. But at the end of the day, you still need to endure no matter what.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and the relationship and discernment part is the part where, like for me, so one thing I think I struggled with this in my 20s, especially was, okay, I have this expectation of what my professional life is going to look like.
Yeah, expectations.
And this is what it's going to be laced up. It's going to be, it's going to be step by step. I'm going to have my daily routine. Yeah. I'm going to do these things, right?
And the results are going to come.
And the results are going to come. Yeah. I'm not going to need much help.
No.
Because I kind of got this thing figured out. This Christianity thing, I've kind of got that pegged too. You know what I mean? Like I'm a new follower of Jesus, and him and I are going to talk every day, and I'm going to hear audibly from him on what exactly to do. You know what I mean? I'm just telling you, like that.
I'm laughing because it's so true.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like, okay, so you get a few years into it, and you're like, holy cow, hold on now. This is really hard, and it's just not that clear all the time. Like, how do I discern? How do I even trust myself, first of all?
Yeah.
You know, to like, even like try to do some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then I found out after a while, it's like, I can sit down by myself and try to figure it out and and sometimes that works. Like sometimes the Holy Spirit will speak to you, but I would say most of the time it took me coming in here and talking to someone like you.
Right.
And talking to some of the other people that have really spent time and mentored me on, okay, I'm really not understanding this very clearly. So one, I have the discernment to even say, I'm not getting this. Mm-hmm. Help me out. Help me dissect this.
Yeah.
And I think about this mainly with this topic because a lot of my stuff in my 20s was about jobs.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I would say
there's a lot of people like that.
Like I was a football coach, and I wanted to be in coaching, and in the coaching world, there's nothing else out there. You're in a bubble. And so anyway, I don't know. It just kind of.
So, yeah, I mean, you're making a great point, Bo. So I think for anybody out there, we probably in our 20s, especially, is we think endurance is just, hey, I can grind it out, baby. Mm-hmm. I can get it done. And I think there's something sometimes when you say persevere, grinder, whatever maybe there's a loss in translation sometimes as we think, and that's an isolated endeavor, becoming an enduring man. But I would say there's all these tools and components when you're becoming an enduring man, a man who endures. The ones that we really admire, look up to, that really know how to embrace it, have things around them that create that. And to your point, one of them is having somebody to talk to regularly, having other men that are willing to challenge them or help them piece together some of these things so they can endure more, develop their character, reading the Bible daily, having counsel from, whatever, the ones that don't endure don't have that. I mean, more and more, I just know or have met men that are all upset, that things aren't working out. But I'm like, well, all right, well, who's around you? Oh, well, bunch of guys my age or younger buddies that I've just kept through the years who The only time we get together is really to drink or play video games.
So they have a leadership certificate.
Yeah, exactly. There's a little Easter egg from
last week.
Yeah.
Which I got last week. The book.
Yeah, exactly. Read a book. Oh my gosh, I roll. Good.
Read books though.
Yeah, read books. Don't get me wrong. Sorry for those who don't understand the context. Yeah, Bo, you're just screwing this up, man. Sorry. No, I will remind people at that point though. There's more than to just reading the book or the podcast or going to the conference. How do you then apply it? That's what was the point. To that point, also similar is like you can't just say you have, oh, I got a circle of friends or I've got people around me. It's like, well, how many of those people are actually challenging you that you just more and more you just realize like, oh, some people put certain people around them so they're not challenged.
Mm-hmm.
They put people who are either less than them, who have a less maturity so they're never challenged. And it's like that's a real thing.
Yeah.
So maybe that's today, maybe the challenge for some of these guys is like, man, you really want to be someone who endures, who develops character from that endures, put people around you that, you're not threatened by, but that challenge you.
Yeah.
That are maybe have some maturity in other areas that you don't. I mean, I think that's to your point, I think the moral story.
It's a lot harder to challenge yourself. I feel like if you're not surrounded by these people or person, over time, I feel like your flesh and your kind of selfish nature, if it's isolated and by yourself, is going to end up kind of calling the shots in a way. And it's really hard to like step back and be like, oh, wait, that's not right. It's really good to have somebody say, hey, I'm seeing that. And that's not something that's, does that make sense?
Exactly. And what's to encourage those who, that sounds scary, that is a very encouraging place to be. And to be in a room where people are kind of helping you discern and value. It really, to even go back to the comfort peace thing, is like, I'm telling you, that is a peaceful place when you start really being challenged in a healthy way where someone is thinking about your best interest when they challenge you. I swear that feels much better than you being in a room, a bunch of yes men or like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Well, and what you'll find too, at least this has been my experience, that, taking that advice maybe at first, your first time in doing that can be uncomfortable, but when you see it work, then you start really desiring and looking for that advice, because for me, like I've, taken really good advice in my probably late 20s and I see where I am now. And I'm like, man, if I was really listening to myself back then, instead of somebody else, I'm not sure where I would be, and so, so now naturally you start seeking it. You're like, oh gosh, like, who could, how can I get back in front of this person so they can help me, in this situation? And another thing you'll find too is that people love to help. People love to be asked for help. Hey, can I have your help with this? People's natural thing is like, well, yeah.
Right.
And then in turn, you gain respect with that person because it's like, I'm not trying to be perfect here.
And the ones who probably don't have that much to give.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm speaking from experience, people that you ask for help and are like, oh, God. It's like, they see you as a burden. It's like, oh, yeah, you probably shouldn't get advice from them.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I did want to, so I know that you and I have kind of talked about this a little bit, and I wanted to maybe dive in on maybe the deeper end of the pool with this because I think it's a real thing. And maybe this isn't so much for the guys in their 20s, but I think you and I, especially now, we're seeing, by the time you get our age, you've been married for a few years to 10 years, whatever. And what we're starting to see with some of the people that we know and love and trust and all these different things is marriage is starting to fall apart and relationships starting to fall apart and things getting harder because, especially today, like, interest rates are high, milk is $10, all this stuff, right? So like diapers are, and so you're dealing with pressure there and you're dealing with pressure in your relationship. And what I'm seeing more and more of, and this has kind of been eye-opening to Carly and I, is like, man, so many of the people around us that like we would never in a million years think that they would split up or do anything, like
Yeah.
one person just like bail all of a sudden that you never would think would bail on their marriage or something. We're seeing that more and more,
Right.
as we get into our early to mid 30s. What do you attribute that to?
Oh, Bo, you set me up for failure here. What's
Well,
that?
but for real, right?
No, well, I mean, I think I referenced a little bit earlier, but it is like, man, I references that.
It's almost like a switch went off.
It was,
it's happened like,
but it was building.
I guess so, yeah.
Somebody didn't just wake. No one woke up and one morning goes, "All right, I'm out."
Yeah.
It was building to that, and that's what I mean. Like, if you are not intentional about, I am the guy who endures today, and realizing that this produces character, hard as it may be, it produces. If you don't start ingraining that now in your 20s, or even before then, pressures of life will mount.
Yeah.
There's no doubt of my mind, and you will look for a way out.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's what I mean too.
Yeah.
Like, I guess kind of to segue into that is like, yeah, so the stuff in your 20s is probably jobs and it's probably figuring out what you want to do and it's all this stuff.
Yeah, it's relationships. Yeah.
But the habits you're building in your 20s on if you're going to endure or not, and I seem like a hypocrite because I've jumped jobs and done all that stuff, but I think what I'm saying is true, is the habits that you're forming then are the same habits that will resurface in different situations, like your marriage.
Yeah.
Or your relationship with your kids, or does that make sense? I mean, it seems like it's kind of similar. Like if you learn that, like, well, man, just jump ship if it gets hard at that job.
Yeah.
Or just jump ship at this thing. Then like when you become 35 and you've been married 10 years and you're having to like really use like, intentional effort on a relationship that's not just going to come super easy all the time. It's going to be easy to be like, okay, I'll do the same thing I did with this job. Does that make sense? It's just kind of like,
oh yeah,
I don't know.
that mind. That's what I mean. It's like, so we're a holistic person. We can't just, we have these mindsets we think can be compartmentalized, but they're not. They're very much, yeah. I see what you mean. And I think there's something to doing this in all areas of our life. So therefore, we're building strongholds in these areas and not being where, we compartmentalize, thinking, oh, I could be wishy-washy over here, but I am really an enduring, steady, solid person over here. And it's like, it don't work
Yeah,
that
I
way.
guess it just to me feels like the stakes get higher the older you get.
Yeah.
Because it's not so much your job, even though it could be your job, but like what I'm seeing with some of guys I went to college with and known after college is that, well, now people are, leaving their wives and their kids. So in your 20s, that you don't see that very much, but then when you get into your 30s, you start seeing that more. And I guess I've just been surprised at how often it happens.
Right. Yeah. It's wild.
I guess I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could totally see why. I mean, yeah, pressure. There's pressure, man. Like there's pressure.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like you got a mortgage, you got all these different things. Yeah. Formulas, worth more than gold these days.
Good
you know what I mean? So like,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's just kind of, it's been surprising to me, I guess.
And those pressures will bring out the best or worst in you. You can't be neutral in those things.
Yeah.
And it will, I mean, and then, the bad days seem worse sometimes.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Learning, and it's just like, and there's something too, I think, going back to our constant conversation about basing your identity off performance of what you can do. And then especially going back to the family and marriage situation, meaning that there's many, especially when you have young kids, there's just feels like there's always, you're never doing enough or you're never constantly failing in that area. And so if you have an identity-based performance and you're failing at home, that starts to get ingrained in you.
Yeah, that's right.
And that belief system, and therefore you will either go try to find an area and the only way to live out in that area of life, whether maybe it's another woman or whatever, you know.
In the world, and the enemy will tell you, well, they'll be better off without you anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I'm a failure.
Right. Because my performance is not up to snuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're just like, especially the young kids, you're not gonna win all the time.
Yeah.
Toddlers, like, And so, yeah, I think learning, like, all right, my identity doesn't come from my performance. It comes from who God says I am. And also that I'm like these things, like I'm an enduring man. Okay. It means when things aren't going well, when I fail, I still show up. I'm still the same guy. I'm still learning how to do that. Right.
Yep.
So anyway.
Well, you have it right here. Why it matters in your 20s, and I think we've hit it all, but most men start strong in their 20s but quit when life gets hard. An enduring man builds the habits, character, and legacy that define the rest of his life. As a husband, as a father, as a leader, and a follower of Christ, this pillar determines whether your story ends in regret or in well done.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of enduring, too, in your walk with Jesus, too.
Mm-hmm.
And then daily practices, showing up, especially when you don't feel like it, celebrating small faithfulness, keeping a perseverance log.
That one, that last one might have gotten a little AI in it, but
Perseverance log.
Yeah, perseverance. But that could be something for some people. Y'all out there, just have a spreadsheet.
Well, we talked about journaling.
Yeah, talk about journaling. Just have a place where you're like, okay, this was hard, and I kept showing up.
Yeah, write it down.
That I think it goes back to anything that truly worth having in life is hard, and anything in life that's needs growth, it needs time. And you just won't know until you look back and go, oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I did keep showing up and things did happen, even though I didn't see or experience the fruit initially.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
man, it's a tough one. Is that it? We got anything else? All right. Thank y'all for listening. Hey, guys, Cartwright here. Excited about what we're doing at Men Are Forged. Please send in a question. We want this podcast to answer the questions you're asking in the description. Click that link. Hey, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Today's episode is brought to you by Bravenly Hydrate. It's hot out there, and you got to stay hydrated because regular water is just not going to cut it. And the main brand sports drinks got stuff you don't need to consume. So I recommend hitting the link in the bio and checking out Bravenly Hydrate. Lemon lime is my favorite flavor, but I recommend checking out more of Bravenly products. It's really great stuff for your health and well-being. So hit the link in the bio to find out more about Bravenly products.